There is absolutely no way that Hollywood is unaware of how polarizing and unpopular the vandalizing force of wokeness truly is in modern films and TV shows. They know what they're doing. They knew how to make successful and popular TV shows and profitable films for decades. They didn't just suddenly forget about 6 or 7 years ago when wokeness began. Much of the content produced is a tax write-off, obviously. They know the margins they need to make where they can balance the financial drop caused by wokeness while still achieving reasonable profits. So they can push the message by still remaining financially in the green or near enough. Also, I think that billion-dollar media empires that have for many decades played a huge role in shaping modern culture and pushing ideas and agendas on the world are possibly filled with people who genuinely believe the message themselves and think that woke ideas are what's best for society. So I think this is why they have stubbornly and stridently continued with the woke thing, regardless of the backlash, and one has to wonder if, to some degree, some of them actually enjoy doing two things. Number one, destroying popular and much-loved franchises, and number two, upsetting fan bases. Just as there was a long march of Marxism in academic institutions, the same may very well have happened throughout the entertainment industry. Certainly the end products suggest as much. 2022 has been quite a ride when it comes to agenda-filled entertainment, I think you'll agree. But it hasn't all been bad. Obviously, Spider-Man No Way Home was decent enough, and Top Gun Maverick. And I did like 1 or 2 episodes of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, but it did get woke, and at times it was just too bland and unimaginative. The Orville had a few decent episodes, also in its 3rd season, but just not enough to really hold my attention for long, and it can still occasionally produce stories or even just moments that sort of pander to current year politics. The highlights of the year were, without doubt, the historically revisionist The Woman King, the trailer to The Little Mermaid, the woefully awful Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, and She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. And I want to focus on the last two that I just mentioned. Beginning with The Rings of Power, the utter desecration of Tolkien's iconic literary masterpiece. We got a woke, profoundly bland, unimaginative, and canonically inaccurate knockoff with wooden, uninteresting characters, a tedious and predictable plot, horrific dialogue, and an unlikable Mary Sue main character who is nothing like the Galadriel depicted in the books or in Peter Jackson's film trilogy. But I've said everything I wanted to say about Rings of Power for now. The question that's really been on my mind recently has more to do with the corporate machine behind such productions. Really step back for a second and ask yourself, what the hell is Amazon even making films and television shows for? Amazon was founded by Jeff Bezos in 1994 and was, originally, an online bookstore. But it expanded to become a massive IT tech giant and eventually the world's biggest online retailer, selling pretty much anything. And in 2006, it launched Amazon Prime Video. These days, it obviously produces its own original streaming content. But this is the problem, I feel. A massive billion-dollar corporation that has just expanded, seemingly without limit for decades, becoming wealthier, more powerful and influential, and has so much money that the owners can just buy the rights to Tolkien's work and produce a crappy, soulless imitation that feels like it was designed by committee in a boardroom. A company like Amazon is like a machine that consumes and then commodifies everything that it touches. Corporate consolidation, where a big multinational buys up everything like an expanding bloated behemoth and then produces a piss-poor facsimile of the original. Amazon didn't begin its life as a film or TV studio, but it generated so much money that it could just become one. I feel the same way about the likes of Apple producing TV programming also. They began life making computers and software. Over the years, they too became a tech juggernaut, and now they're in the entertainment business. Now, it is certainly possible to pay creative and talented people to write, produce, and direct great TV shows and films, but ultimately, you know that there's a soulless corporate machine behind it all. Not to say that traditional Hollywood studios were any different or any better, but I just have a problem with our modern pop culture being influenced by a global online retailer that people consume crap from their giant Borg cube-sized fulfillment center warehouses that have sprung up across the world and obliterated the countryside wherever they were built. Now, historically, a TV series was doomed if it got low ratings, because that meant it couldn't support itself financially because advertisers who fund the show would not be interested in it. But nowadays, theoretically, no matter how unpopular a series could become, so long as Amazon's online retail division continues to be incredibly profitable, it could, in theory, continue to financially prop up an unpopular series and keep it going, if it so wished, I suppose. And I think there's something truly mechanistic and inauthentic about the process of a company like Amazon producing art, because it's as though the TV productions they make have come off a metaphorical factory assembly line. Tolkien's original Lord of the Rings books were timeless literary classics, culturally significant and inspired by ancient Norse, Germanic, Celtic and Gaelic mythology. They were written to tell a story that spoke of universal moral and spiritual themes about humanity. By comparison, The Rings of Power is simply a consumable product, produced by essentially synthesizing, mimicking, approximating and extrapolating upon Tolkien's work to create something that only superficially resembles it in its most shallow appearance, merely a cosmetic clone whose resemblance is just skin deep, but beneath the thin veneer there is none of the heart, soul, quality, nuance, depth and intelligence of the original. And then there was She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, the nadir of the MCU's fourth phase. A hardcore feminist's woke dream TV series. The protagonist of the series is Jen, who is shallow, narcissistic and condescending, as well as being emotionally brittle.
Your anger.
Well, here's the thing, Bruce. I'm great at controlling my anger. I do it all the time. But when I'm catcalled in the street...
Oh, this has to be a joke.
When incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me, I do it pretty much every day, because if I don't, I will get called emotional or difficult, or I might just literally get murdered. So I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you.
Bruce Banner has been through a whole hell of a lot worse than catcalling. Jen is hardly a strong female role model. And to make matters worse, men are depicted in the show as being either arrogant jerks or weak betas. I agree with the critical drinker. It's hard not to get a sense of spite against men in this series, as if the writers are projecting their own hang-ups onto the characters. 2022 has been another year of cringe wokeness, but I think, on a positive note, it's been a year when audiences have become more vocal in their dislike of it, and it feels like the woke thing is reaching a point where it's simply becoming too intolerable and perhaps unsustainable. Something is going to have to give, eventually. Here's to better things in 2023, I guess. Not that I'm holding my breath or anything. Let me know what your highlights were from 2022. If you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing, and you can support my work over on Subscribestar. The link is in the description box below. Although I still have more content to produce for the channel between now and the end of 2022, I would like to take this opportunity to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.